Hello everyone, this video is about Flask. I will be implementing all the API that is required to make one project, and the project name is the Leave Management System. You can clearly see in your screen, this is the API document, and I will be implementing all the API that is required to make this project. If you see here, this is the API that is required to create a users. That means we are able to create a users, we are able to edit users, delete users, and if you see here, this is for authentication, to log in, to refresh, to get the refresh token, and to sign up. I'll be implementing all these API also, and these API are for employee. That means employees will be able to request a leave, right? And the managers will be able to approve or decline that request. So I'll be creating all these API. That means I'll be creating all these API required to create a leave management system project. And if you see here, users will be authenticated to send the request. So I'll be also implementing this, and I'll be going chapter by chapter. First of all, before we started, code link will be in the video description. If you see here, I'll be giving this link, and to see the code, what you have to do is you can click on here and you can go to each chapter. If you want to see the code of chapter 1, you can click here and the code will appear. This is the code for chapter 1. So based on these branches, you can go to each chapter and see the code. The link in the video description. Now, without any delay, let's get started. Okay, let me create one folder here. FLASK Backend server. I'm going to open it, and let me open it with Visual Studio. Okay, I will write my every code here. So first of all, I'm going to open terminal, and I'm going to create one virtual environment. So pip install virtual env, and make sure you have already installed the Python and this pip. And with this pip, I'm able to install any packages, any Python packages. So first of all, I am going to install virtual env, and this virtual env is required to make this project independent to other projects. That means if I install some packages or library, that packages and library will be specific to only this environment. Let me click enter. Requirement already satisfied. Now let me create one virtual environment with a virtual env and my virtual environment name, suppose venv. Okay, now the virtual environment created, you can clearly see here. Now to activate this environment, I can write, if you are in Mac or Linux, you have to write this command, source venv bin activate. So this is for Mac or Linux, but I am in Windows right now, so I have to write venv scripts activate. Now I am inside this virtual environment. Now the package that I will be downloading will be specific to this environment. I can clear the screen. Okay, now I would like to install some of the packages. First one is Flask, and then Flask REST-AX to create the API, and then Python decouple to get the environment variables, and Flask SQL Alchemy for database. In this chapter 1, I will be initializing Flask, and also I will be creating one database, and the database will be dev database. I can clear this terminal. Now let me create one environment variable .env, and also I would like to create .env.example, and inside this secret key, and also this key will be, I'll be adding here in environment.example variable, and this .env.example will be public file, and this .env will be private file. That means I'm not going to share this .env files to other, but this can be shareable. Now to create secret key, what am I going to do is I'm going to open Python in this terminal, and then I'm going to import secrets. Okay, secrets.tokenhex 16 that means 16 bytes, that means it will be 32 characters. If I click enter, okay, this is my secret key. You can create your own secret key and you can put it here. So this will be my secret key and this is the private file. So my .env example file will contain only the key, but my .env file will contain the key and value. When I keep this file in suppose GitHub, then my .env file will not be tracked, but my .env.example file will be tracked. So for that, what I can do is I can create git ignore file, and here I can pass this .env. That means don't track this .env file. Okay, with this now I would like to create another file, config.py, and here I am going to import OS. Also from decouple, import config, and now I'm going to initialize the base directory os.path.door name, os.path.realpath file name or file. Okay, this will give the path of my this folder. So this is the base directory. Here I like to create one class config, and here I'm going to write secret key, and my secret key is located in this .env folder or .env file. And to get this secret file, I can write config and my key name is secret key, Control C and Control V. So I'm getting this secret key from the environment variable, and now I'm going to create another class. So this will be my dev config. I'm going to pass my common config file. That means my dev config will inherit value from this config class. I'm going to write pass for now. In the same way, I'm going to have prod config. I will put all my prod configuration in this class, but I'm not going to implement this prod configuration, but I'm going to implement only dev configuration. If you want to create test configuration, you can write test config, pass for now. And in this dev config, I can write SQL Alchemy database URI. Okay, I'm going to give path for my database. I'm going to create one database folder here, and all my database related code will be located there. So here I'm going to pass my database path. I can write SQLite. I'm going to use SQLite database. os.path.join. I have already defined base directory, and then I'm going to create one database folder. So database, inside this I will be having database, that is dev.db. Okay, this is the configuration. And one thing, let me exit from here from terminal, and I've already installed the FLASK, React, different library. I'm going to put all my requirement in requirement.txt file. So for that, I'm going to write pip is requirements.txt. Okay, all of my dependency and library will be located here. And for formatting, I can install black for my text formatting or code formatting, and I can hit this command black dot. Okay, right now everything is formatted. Okay, so far what we have done is we have created environment variable. In this environment variable we have secret key and this git ignore. When you put your code in GitHub, then this environment file will not be tracked. That means other person will not be able to see this our secret key, because they have to create their own secret key. and this is my configuration file. In this configuration file, I have to put all my configuration. Right now there is only one configuration, and that is for my SQL Alchemy database URI. I will be creating this dev.db database later. Now I am going to create my main file, that is going to be main.py. Here I'm going to import some libraries from Flask. Import Flask, from config import. I have created dev config. From Flask REST-AX, I'm going to import API and resource. Now I'm going to initialize my Flask app. So app equals Flask, and I have to pass this name. And to create my API document, I can write API equals API, and I can pass this app, and my document will be located in this path docs. That means if I go to this path, my API document will be visible, and also I can pass one prefix API. Okay. Now to add this dev configuration in my app, what I can do is I can write app.config dot from object. Okay, and I can pass here dev config. That means I am going to load my dev configuration setting. Now I am going to print hello world. So for that, what I can do is I can create one decorator @app.root. So if I go to this path, then hello world should be visible. I would like to implement that. So here I'm going to create one function home, and suppose this message hello world from IG Tech team. Okay, now if name equals main, I can run my application, and I can pass here debug equals true. That means I don't need to rerun my code again and again. The changes will automatically applied. So I can pass debug equals true. Okay, now my code is completed. That means my initial code is completed to display this message hello world from IG Tech team. Now what I can do is if I run my code python main.py. Okay, now my server is running on this path, so I can click on this path, and you can clearly see I'm getting this message hello world from IG Tech team. So I'm able to get the message hello world from IG Tech team from my server, and this is the for the path slash. Here I have mentioned path slash. So in this path I'm getting this message hello world from IG Tech team, and in this slash docs I will be getting API document. So if I go to slash docs, you can clearly see this is my API document. Right now there is no any API created, but this is my API document. To go to API document, I can go to this path slash docs, because here I have already defined slash docs, and this will be my API document. And to add some API in this document, I can do like, suppose if I want to create API for this hello world, then I can write like this way. I can write API because I want to add now in this API document, so I can write @API dot root, and suppose I'm going to give path suppose hello, and I have to make class some name suppose hello resource, and I have to pass this resource that I have already imported here resource, and now I can create one function and return. I'm going to return one object, and here I can write hello world from hello resource. Okay, now if I refresh this page, you can clearly see now I'm having this default namespace. And if I go here, you can clearly see this is get API and the path is /hello. If I execute this, if I click on try it out, and if I execute this, you can clearly see I'm getting this message, hello world from hello resource. So we have created our first API and it is displaying this message. This is how we can create the API. So this is our first API. Now I'm going to create database. And to create database, I'm going to first make one folder here, database, and here I'm going to create db init.py. I'm going to import this app. You can see here I'm going to import app from this db init. So from main import app, and also in this database folder I'm going to create extension.py, suppose ext.py. And here I'm going to initialize my database. That means, first of all, let me import SQL Alchemy. From FLASK SQL Alchemy, import SQL Alchemy, and I'm going to initialize DB SQL Alchemy. Okay, this is it. And in this DB init, I'm going to import this DB. From .ext, I'm going to import DB. And now I can write with app.app context. I'm going to create all my database. So db.create all. And I'm going to print one message, database created. Now I'm going to initialize my database in my main folder. So here I'm going to import my db. So from database.txt I'm going to import db, or I can write here exts. Let me rename this file to exts extension. Okay, from database.exts import db. Now here I'm going to initialize the database. I can write db.init app. Okay, this is completed. Now I'm going to explain this code. If you see here, I have first imported this required packages or library, and I have initialized my Flask app. This is my API document, which I can see from this path. And I have already make my configuration file. If you see here, this is my dev config, and I am importing here. That means I am going to pass this dev config to my application, and this is the part to initialize the database. That means this db, if you see here, this is here. I'm creating database. I'm initializing database here. And when I run this code, when I run this db init.py, it will create my database, and it will take this dev configuration, and my dev configuration is, that means it will create my database in this folder, database/dev.db. okay, let me create dev.db now. So for this, what I can do is I need to run this db.init.py in modular form. That means if you see here, I am importing app from the main, so I have to treat this db init as a model. That means this database, I have to treat this database as a model. So what I can do is I can write this command, python -m database, my folder name is database.db init. I'm not writing like database/db init because I'm treating my database folder as a module, so I have to write database.db init. And now if I click enter, see, database created, and you can clearly see my dev.db is created. And I can also open this dev.db. I have to download some editor. I have already installed this DB browser SQLite editor. If I open this, and it is not mandatory but it will be helpful, I will be able to see my database from here. So I can open database, and here database dev.db. I can open my dev.db here. Right now there is no any table, so all are empty, but I can preview my database from here. And this app is DB browser for SQLite. You can also download this editor if you want. So this chapter is completed. I have already initialized Flask, and also I have created my dev database. And in the chapter 2, I will be creating tables, routes, and models. In this chapter 2, I will be creating user API, table, and routes. So I'm going to create one folder here, models, and first one is user.py. I'm going to create this user model. So first of all, I'm going to import db database.exts import db, and I'm going to create user model. I can pass db.model, and my user content first id db.column. This will be my integer, and this will be my primary key. I'm going to copy this and paste here. Okay, and next this will be for my name. User has email, user has department, also designation, contact, and role. What is the role of user? And also user is assigned one manager, so manager id. Okay, this name will be string, so I can write here string. This email will also be string. This department will also be string. All of my this designation, contact, and role will be string. Okay, and also this will not be primary key. Id is only primary key. So what I can do is I can select all, and I can write nullable equals true. In fact, nullable equals false. That means there should be some value. So I have to pass nullable equals false. Okay, so this is my user model. Now I'll be having some function here to save my user. Let me create save function. And to save my user, I have to write db.session.add self and db.session.commit. Okay, this will save my user. And to delete my user, I can write db.session.delete. db.session. After delete, I have to commit my changes. Now finally is for update. I'm going to update my name, email, department, designation, contact, role, and manager ID. I'm going to write self.name equals name, self.email equals email, self.department equals department, self.designation equals designation, self.contact equals contact, self dot role equals role, self dot manager id equals manager id. After this, again I have to commit my changes. Commit. Okay, this is how we can create our model. So this is user model, and user contains id, name, email, department, designation, contact role, and manager id. And I will be creating all the API to save my user, to delete my user, and to update my user. Okay, so this model is completed. Now I'm going to create routes. So here I'm going to create one folder API, and inside API suppose user routes.py. Here I'm going to import a request. I'm going to import models that I have just created. User, import user, and from FLASK RESTx I'm going to import resource, namespace, and fields. Okay, I think it will all be required. Okay, now I'm going to create user namespace. If you see in the API document, this is the default namespace, right? This is for hello world. Now I am going to create user namespace. So here I can write user ns namespace equals namespace, and my namespace name is users because this is for users, and I can write description namespace users, and this description will be visible here. So it will be users and the description will be visible here. So I have to write a description here. Now I can create user API model, user ns dot model, this is for user, and my user contains id, fields dot it is integer, and user has a name, this will be string, let me copy paste this field. Okay, next one is for my email, department, designation, contact, role, and manager id, this will be integer. Okay, this is my user API model. Now I'm going to create root, and for that I have to write user ns. I have to define path, so I can write root slash. That means when I go to slash users, then this API will be called. I can create class and one class name, users resource, and I have to pass my resource I have already imported here. Now when I call get request, I have to write def get, and I have to write comment in triple quotation, and this comment will be visible in API document, so it is very helpful. So I can write get all users, and again this comment is required because in our API document we will be seeing this comment get all users. So now I can write employees equals to, I can query all my employees, so I can write user dot query dot all, which will give all my employees, and I can return employees. As simple as this. And to post a user, that means to create a user, I can write post, and again comment, I can write create a new user. I'll be getting payload from the user, so I can write data equals request dot get JSON, and I have already imported request here. So from Flask I have imported request, and to create a new user, the user will give me some payload and I'm taking that payload. So data equals request dot get JSON. Now I'm going to create user. So new user equals user. I have already created this user model, and name equals, I need to pass ID because that is primary key that will be assigned automatically. So I have to start from name. So I can write data dot get name. For email, data dot get email. For department, data dot get department. For designation, data dot get designation. Contact, data dot get contact. Role, data dot get role. Manager ID, data dot get manager ID. Okay, now to save this user, I have already created dot save method. If you see here, there is already save method, so I can directly write new user dot save. Okay, I can return this new user. Okay, this is for my slash root. So if I send get request, I'll be getting all the users, and if I send post request, then it will take my user, it will take all the fields from my request and it will create a new user, and I'm returning this new user. So this is completed. Now also I'm going to make a root for editing or deleting a user. So I can write here, it will be my separate root, so I can write user namespace dot root. I have to pass ID. ID is required to update specific user or to delete a specific user, so ID is required, so I have to pass this ID in this root. Now I'm going to create one class. This will be my user resource. I have created users resource. Now this will be my user resource. I'm going to pass a resource. Again, I have to create get command. This get is for getting all the users, but this get is to get a specific user, and for that ID will be required. And again, comment get a user details by ID. I can write user equals user dot query dot get or 404. I have to pass ID, and then I have to return this user. This is for a individual user, and also update a user self ID. Update a user by ID. I can write user to update equals user dot query. First of all, I have to get that user dot get or 404 ID, and also I have to get request from user. That means I will be getting payload, so I can write request dot get JSON, and then I can write user to update dot. I have already created update method. If you see here in this model, there is update function, so I can write user to update dot update, and it will take all of these field. So I have to pass this field here. data dot get name, data dot email, department, data dot get designation, for contact, for role, for manager ID. So I have to pass all of these fields. So I have passed from here, and then I'm going to return one message. I can write message user updated successfully. Okay, and this will update a user by ID. Now last one is to delete a user. Def delete, also ID will be required. Delete a user by ID. I can write user to delete equals, I have to first get that user dot query dot getter 404. I have to pass ID. Then I can write user to delete. I've already created a delete method here, so I can call from here delete, and then I can return one message. I can write user deleted successfully. Okay, so this is completed. Now let me run my code, python main.py, and now if I refresh this, okay, first of all I have to register my namespace. If you see here, I have created this user namespace. I have to register this user namespace. So for that, I have to go my main file main.py, and from here I have to import that namespace. So I can write from api.userroots. I have to import user namespace, and here I can write api.add namespace, and my namespace name is user namespace. Now if I control yes, and if I refresh this page, see my user's namespace is here. So it says a namespace for users. If I go here, see all my API are here. So this is for getting all the users. If I go here and if I click on execute, as expected I am getting this error because the code is still not completed. If I go to my terminal, it says no such table user because I have already created a user model, but there is no any user table. If I go to my database and if I refresh this, see there is no any table. I have to create my table first. Now to create a table, let me open another terminal here. Let me activate virtual env here. To create a table, I have to run this command again, python -m database .db init. Now if I click enter, okay, database is created because I have added one new table, or I have created one new model, that is user model. And now if I go to DB browser and if I refresh this, see my user table is created. I can see table from here. Now my application is running. Now again if I go to here and if I execute this again, now I will be getting this response, means there is no any user, right? I'm going to create one user here. Let's see if it works or not. Try it out, execute. You can see here there is no any payload example. That means I'm not able to identify what my this user field contain. I don't know if this user contain name, department, designation. There is no any payload example, so I can add payload example here. if I go to my user routes, I have already defined this user API model. That means my user contains this name, email, department, designation, contact, role, manager ID. I have to add this user API model in my API. So what I can do is I can go to this post request, and here I can write user ns dot expect. I can pass this user API model, as simple as this. Let me save this. And now if I go here, let me refresh this site, users, post request. Now I can see the example value. Now I know what this payload should contain. Payload contains name, email, department, destination, contact, role, and manager ID. This ID is not required, but let me keep it simple for now. So this is the payload example. Now I can click and try it out, and now here I can give some value. This ID is not required, I will handle this later, but I can write, suppose John Doe. This is the name. Email is, suppose, john@gmail.com. Department is engineering. Designation is a lead engineer, lead software engineer. Contact is, suppose this is the contact. Role is, suppose, employee. Manager ID is, suppose, 1. When I click on this execute button, there is internal server error, and you can clearly see here the request URL is this my base path /API/users, because if you see in my code, in this main.py, prefix is /API, and then this namespace contains this users, so it is /API/users. And if you see here, the error message is object of type user is not JSON serializable, so I have to make my response JSON serializable. And for that, what I can do is, just like expect, I have to convert my response into JSON serializable, and for that I can write here @user namespace dot marshal with. I can write marshal with, and I can pass this user API model. This expect will validate the input, and this marshal with formats the output. So you have to remember this. This expect will validates the input, means I'm getting the payload example, right? And then this marshal with, it will format the output. That means when I click execute button, my response will be JSON serializable now with this marshal with, and I'm passing this user API model, and I have already defined user API model here. That means it will format my output. And now if I save this, and now if I go to my API document, my payload is here. Now if I click on execute button, see 200, that means success. The user is created successfully. Now if I go to my get API, and if I click on try it out, and then this execute button, I'm still viewing this internal server error in this get request, because in the get request also I have to write this marshal with. So here I can write user ns dot, I have to write now marshal list with, because it will contain array of object. My post request will contain just one payload. That means I'm going to create only one user with this API, right? So I have to write here marshal with, but this get API contains all the users, and the users will be in array of objects, so I have to write marshal list with, and I have to pass again same API model, user API model. Now if I save this, and if I execute this, see, I'm able to see my users list. There are same user lists because I clicked post request 2 times, so there are 2 users. And if you see here, ID is assigned automatically and other data are same. I can also delete this data, and for that I can go to delete request, or first of all let me update this request. I can copy this Let me update first one. Here I can click and try it out, and again there is no any payload example. So for this put request also, I can go to here. In fact, I can copy this, Control C, and in this put request I can put expect so that I can get my payload example. Now if I go to my API document here, and if I refresh this, okay, first of all let me get all the users, try it out, execute. I will copy this, Control C, and in my put request now I'll be able to see this example value, try it out, Control V, and this will be for my ID equals 1, so I have to pass ID equals 1, and this will go in my URL. You can see here ID is required, int ID, so I have to pass ID equals 1, and here now I would like to change my manager ID to 2, and if I click on execute, okay, I'm getting this error. I have to remove this comma here, and now if I click on execute again, okay, now the message is user updated successfully. I have updated my manager ID. If I click on execute again in this get request, now the manager ID is 2, so I have updated my user. And now I would like to delete this second user, so in the delete request here I can click and try it out. I can pass this ID to execute, user deleted successfully. If I hit get request again, now there is only one user. And now if I want to get only one user, I have this API also here. If it's here, get a user details by ID. So if I click and try it out, I would like to fetch only first user having ID equals 1. I can click on execute, and also here also I have to I have same error. That means in the get request here I have to write same code. That means user ns dot master with, because it will get only one user, so I can write master with my same API model. Control yes, and now if I click on execute, I will get only one user. So all of my API is working now. But the problem here is if I go to my post user, if I click on cancel, let me refresh this page, users in the post request, if you see here ID is listed here, but ID is not required. When I send the post request, when I create a new user, ID is not required. In the same way, if I go to put request, again ID is not required, right? So I have to fix this thing. If I go to here user API model, if I remove ID from here, then I have to create separate model for Marshall list with also, because if you see here Marshall will take also user API model and expect will take also user API model. If I go to my API document, and if you see here the response will take ID but not the payload. When I send the request, ID is not required, but when I get the response there is ID. So I can't remove this ID because in my output the ID will be there, and this Marshall list with or Marshall with take the same API model, so I can't remove this ID from here. But what I can do is I can create my own decorator. I will show you how. I have to first create one utils folder here, utils. I'm going to create custom decorator.py. So why am I creating this custom decorator? Because I want to decorate this expect function. This will take user API model, but I want to add one feature to remove some field from this model. Right now I would like to remove ID from this model, so I would like to create one my own decorator. Okay, so I'm going to create one decorator very quickly. I'm going to write def expect. Now if you see here I'm going to write the same function name expect. That is not required, but you can write the same function name. It will require my name space model, and there will be exclude fields. That means if I pass suppose id, then the id will be removed from my model. Also I can write name suffix equals input. I'm going to create one decorator. It will take function. Now I can write input model equals, I can write ns dot colon. I have to pass model dot name suffix, and also I have to pass model. So what is this? So if you see my user root in this user API model, if you see here, this there is user, right? So this user is my model name. So I will get user from here model dot name, and then name suffix is input. So it will be like user input. So I'm going to change name slightly, so it will be user input, and I'm passing model also. That means I'm going to passing this user API model. Okay, I'm cloning this field. And now if I pass some value here, if I pass suppose id, I have to loop here. So for field in exclude field, from my input model I have to remove that field. I can write pop field, I can write none. That means I'm going to, if my exclude field contains some field, I'm going to remove that field from my model. So if you see here, this is my user API model. I am passing user API model here, and if there is some field, then I'm going to remove that field. Now I'm going to return like the same way. Here I'm writing namespace dot expect, right? I'm going to write a return my namespace dot expect, and I'm going to pass this input model just like this, ns dot expect and my model name. But this is my decorator, so I have to pass here func also. So this is how decorator will be created, right? You have to first know how decorator works. What is the use of decorator? Decorator will change the behavior of the function, right? And now I have to pass decorator. This decorator function will comes under the advanced course of Python. So I don't want to make this complex, but you have to know why we are doing this, because we want to remove some field from the user API model. So we are creating this custom decorator. Now what am I going to do is, in this expect, I'm going to use my own custom decorator. So let me remove this, and I can write here @expect. I have to first import my expect function. So here I can write from utils.custom decorator, I have to import expect. Okay, and here I can write expect. I have already created expect here, and now it takes namespace first. So I can write user namespace, then it takes model. I can pass my user API model, and I want to exclude one field, and that field is, I have to pass in array. I have to remove id field. As simple as this. Now if I press Ctrl yes, and if I go to my API document, and now if I refresh this site, and in this create a new user request, if you see here, now there is no id, because I have created my own custom decorator. And here the new feature added is, now I can remove the field from my model. So this custom decorator will be very helpful. It is not mandatory, but I think this is very helpful in this project. Okay, I'm going to copy this, and here also I will not be using expect like this. So I'm going to pass my own custom decorator, and also I don't need id here. Okay, this is it. Now if I refresh this again, and in the user and in this API also there is no id. Now this is completed. In this chapter 2, what we have done so far is, we have created user table, we have created our models, we have created our routes, we have created our own custom decorator also. And if you see in the database, there is user table, I can refresh this table, and if I click on browse table, there is some data. There is one data, and I don't need this database, by the way, because I can get all my users from this API document. If I click on try it out, if I click on execute, I'm able to see my database, see my user. So I've implemented this user API. And in this chapter 2, I would also like to cover the concept of course. The course will be useful if I want to implement both front end and back end side. That means if I want to send requests from back end to front end, then course will be very helpful. So I need to know the concept of course. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I would like to install course. So I can write pip install FLASK course. I can write pip freeze requirements.txt to save my requirements in this file cls, and now I can import course here from FLASK course. I can import course, and this course will be helpful to access allow from origin. In the future, suppose if I want to implement front end, then my front end origin and my backend origin will be different. So to hand check between the front end and backend, I have to implement this course, and here I can initialize that course. I am allowing course for all routes and all origins, so I can write course. When you see course error, then you have to come to your backend side and you have to implement this course. Right now I am allowing course for all routes and all origins. Okay, this is all for chapter 2. In the chapter 3, I will be creating employee leave API routes and models. Now in this chapter 3, I will work for creating employee leave API table and routes. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to create one employee leave models. So here let me create employee leave.py, and I'm going to import db database.xts import db. I'm going to create employee leave model. This is my employee leave class. I have to add db.model. Employee leave, there will be id. I can write db.column. It will be my integer, and primary key is true. And also I will be having employee id. It will also be integer, and nullable equals false. And also there will be status. This will be string, and again nullable equals false. I can copy this, paste, and again paste here. Okay, this will be my type. This is duration from, this is duration to, and also one more field, reason. Okay, my employee leave contains id, and again employee id, status, suppose approved, pending or rejected, and also there is type, suppose a sick leave or compensation leave, something like that, and duration from. So when to take a leave, this will be from duration, and this will be to duration, and this will be my reason. Suppose the reason is I'm sick, I'm traveling, something like that. So this will be my employee leave model. And again I'm able to save this leave request. I can write dv.session.add self, and after saving this employee leave I have to commit my changes. Also, managers will be able to update this request. That means managers will be able to update, suppose status to approved. So I should have this update method here. Duration from, suppose this field also can be updated. Duration to, also region. I can write self.status self dot type equals type, self dot duration from equals to duration from, self dot duration to duration to, and then self dot region to region, and finally I can commit the changes. Okay, this is completed. This is my employee leave model, and now I'm going to create this employee leave routes. So here I can write employee leave routes.py. Okay, from FLASK I'm going to import a request. From models I also need users model, so I have to import user. Okay, also I need expect from custom decorator, and also I need the model I have just created. Import employee leave, and finally flask restx I have to import a resource, namespace, fields, and also new thing I will import about also. If there is some error then I can use this about. I'm going to create separate namespace for this employee leave. So employee leave namespace this is for my employee, and I can pass a description. Just like I have created a separate namespace for user, I can create separate namespace for employee leave also. Namespace for employee leave request. I can write employee leave API model equals my model name is employee leave, and here there is ID, and this will be integer. There is employee ID, this is also integer. There is status, this is string. Type, this is also a string. Duration from is also a string. Duration is also a string, and finally reason is also a string. Okay, this is my employee leave API model, just like I have created for user API model. And now I have to create root, so I can write @employee leave namespace dot root, and the path will be ID will be required / apply leave. The first one is employee leaves resource. I can write any name here. I have to pass resource. I have already imported this resource. And now first one is get request self ID. I can write comment, and this comment will be visible in my API document. I can write here get all leaves request, leave request for a particular employee by employee ID. That means I'm going to extract all the leave requests for a particular employee and by employee ID. So here first of all I have to check if that employee exists or not. Check if the employee exists. I have to write employee equals user dot query dot get ID. If the user is not here, if the user doesn't exist, I have to use this abort method. I can write abort and the status code will be 404, that means not found, and I can write employee not found. So this abort will stop the execution here. But if there is employee, I have to query all leave requests. So I can write here comment leave requests for the employee. I can write here employee leaves equals employee leave dot query dot filter by. I'm going to use filter by because previously I was using get, and this get will helpful if I want to query by my primary key. But right now if you see here I'm using filter by because I would like to filter by not by my primary key but my other field. So I have to write filter by. I can write employee ID because employee ID is not my primary key, so I have to use filter by. If my employee ID is primary key, then I can use directly get. So I can write employee ID equals to ID, and I will get ID from my path URL. And then I have to write here all. I would like to fetch all the employee leave for this ID, and then I can return employee leaves. Okay, and here I can format the output. So I can write employee leave dot marshal with. I will write marshal list with because it will give me an array of object. I have to pass employee leave API model. Okay, now I can also create post method self ID apply a leave. Again I have to check if employee is there or not, so I can write employee equals, I can write user dot query dot get by ID. ID is my primary key, and if not employee, I will call abort. So 404, again employee not found, and if the employee is found, I have to take a request from the user. So I can write data equals request dot get JSON, and here this will be this request. Okay, request dot get JSON, and now I'm going to create leave info employee leave. This is my model, and it takes first one, it takes employee ID will be ID, status will be data.get status, type will be data.get type, duration from, also there is duration too, and last one is region, data.get region. This will be my employee leave, and I have to save this employee leave, so leave info dot save. As simple as this. Now I can return this leave info. Okay, this is also completed. Now what more I can do is, here again I can format the output. I can write employee leave ns dot marshal with employee leave API model. Okay, and also I can call my expect function. This get will not take that expect because I don't need to send any payload, so expect will not be required here. But when I am applying a leave, I will need the payload example value, so I have to use expect. Namespace will be employee leave namespace, model will be employee leave API model, and here I don't need this ID and employee ID, so I have to pass here. Okay, I have to pass ID and my employee ID. This ID is not required because it will be automatically created, and this employee ID will be, if you see here, employee ID will be ID, and this ID will come from the path, so this employee ID is also not required. This is for getting and creating a leave request. Now what am I going to do is, I'm going to create another class. This will be my employee leave resource for individual leave, because manager will take only one leave and update the leave, so I will need this. And here the root will be, I can write employee leave ns dot root, and it will be employee ID / apply leave, and also it will take a leave ID. So first of all, I would like to create a put request. It will take employee ID and leave ID. I can write update or leave status by ID, because manager have to update the status. Suppose the employee is requesting a leave, then manager has to update the leave status to either pending or rejected or something like that, or approved. So here I can write a leave data equals employee leave dot query dot filter by employee ID equals employee ID equals leave ID, and I can write here first. So get the first record that is matched, and if not found, if not a leave data, I can use abort 404 no leave request found. And if leave data found, I can write data get JSON, take data from the payload, and here I can write updated leave data. But before this, if you see here, I will not get the actual data from here, but I will get the object. To get the actual data, I have to use Marshall again. Here, what am I going to do is I am going to use the leave data equals. I can use employee leave ns dot Marshall. I can pass leave data, and then this employee leave ns model, employee leave API model. Okay. So with this leave data, I will get response like this. If it's here, I will get a response like employee and suppose ID, something like that. But to get the actual data, I have to use now Marshall. I can't use Marshall here because if I write Marshall here, then it is useful when I return the data. Right now here, if you see here, I'm not returning the data, so I have to use Marshall here. Okay. Now I will get actual leave data. So here what I can do is I can write key value or key comma value in data.items if value is not none. That means just update the value that is in this request. Suppose if a duration from is not here, then I don't need to take that field. I don't need to update that field. So I'm using if block here. If value is not none, then only I have to take that field. Okay. Now here I can write new leave data equals I can destructure my leave data and again my updated leave data. So if same field is present here, it will override the field from here, so it will update my value, and this asterisk will destructure my data. Now I can pass here leave data. I've already made this function update, and again I can pass this new leave data. If you see here in this object, here I have created object and it will take status, type, duration from, duration to, and region. And if I am passing some of the field from here, then only it will take that field and update those field. So suppose if my new leave data will be, suppose if this leave data contains status, first one is pending, and if this other leave data contains status approved, then this will take priority. That means my first value will be overwritten, and this asterisk will destructure the value. That means if my new leave data is in JSON, suppose status is approved, then it will destructure my data and it will assign status equals to approved. This will destructure my data, and then I'm going to return this leave data. And now I'm going to format my output. So I can write employee leave ns dot Marshall with employee leave API model, and to validate my input I can write expect. I can pass my namespace, my model, and again I don't want this ID and employee ID. I believe the code is completed. Now if I refresh my app document, and I can go to, okay, I have to register my employee namespace. So I have to go to my main.py file, and here I'm going to write from api.employee leave routes. I'm going to import employee leave namespace, and again here I'm going to write api.add namespace employee leave namespace, control yes. And here if I refresh this again, okay, here the issue is in nullable. If I go here, First of all, I have to create a database for this employee leave. So I have to run this command python -m database.db init. Enter. Okay, so this is the issue. Column got an unexpected keyword argument nullable. Let me fix this issue. So where it is in the status field. Okay, I can see here db.column. Okay, this C is capital. Sorry for that. So this field is again capital. Control S, CLS, and I'm going to create my employee leave table. Enter. Database created. If I go to database structure, refresh this, see employee leave table is there, and now my server is not running. I can run python main.py. Okay, I can refresh this. See, employee is there, and this is the namespace for employee leave request. If I go to get request and if I try it out, if I see the leave request for employee user ID 1, I can execute this. There is no any leave request, right? I'm going to create one leave request, so I can go to this post request, try it out, and here status is initially the status is definitely pending. Type is a sick leave. Duration from is suppose 2025 from 0501 to same date. Suppose I'm going to take just a 1 day leave, so I can pass the same value here. Reason is I am sick, something like that. And this is for user ID 1 because I have only one user right now. And if I click on execute, okay, the leave request is created. Now if I go to execute this get request again, I will get this leave request. And if you see here, the server response is just there is only 200 responses. I can also add the responses by myself. Suppose if there is 404, what will happen? So this is not mandatory, but I can write here in this employee leave routes, in this apply or leave request here, what I can do is I can write employee leave ns dot response. I'm going to document my API model. So if it is 200, I can create my own message. Employee leave requested successfully. I can also add this. And suppose if the response is 404, I can create my own message, employee not found. Okay, control yes. And now let me copy this again. Let me refresh this. And for employee, if I go to this routes, if you see here now 200 is for success and 404 is for employee not found. So I can document status code by myself. And again, let me create another request. Suppose this is for ID 1 again. Suppose if it is for ID equals 2, then employee will not be found. Let's see what will happen if I click on execute. See, employee not found is the response from the server. So this is for employee ID 1, and again I'm going to create a leave request from 6.1 to 6.6. Suppose type is compensatory and I'm traveling. Execute. Leave request is created, and if I hit the get request, try it out. This is for I have to pass also the employee ID, user ID. If I click on execute, okay, there are two leave requests, right? And suppose if manager wants to update this leave request, then we have also API for that. So if I see here, I would like to update this second request. There is put request, and this is for manager who will be viewing your request. I'm going to update this request. So suppose the manager will approve your request, and employee ID is for 1, leave ID is 2, right? This is the second request for this user. And if I click on execute, okay, it is updated. This is how we can create employee leave request model and API. If you see here, these all are the requests that is required for this employee leave. This is all for chapter 3. Now in the chapter 4, I will be discussing data validation with parser. In this chapter 4, I will discuss data validation with parser. So if I go to my app document in this users and in this post API, try it out. Before this, let me go to get request, get all users, try it out, execute. Let me copy this data, Control C in this post request. Let me paste it here. You can see here this is the email, right? It follows the email pattern, that means name@gmail.com. But what if I add just name? I can add anything. Suppose I fill this email, and what happens if I click on this execute button? Let's see. If I click on this execute button, the employee is created. This is not the email, right? There is no any validation. Now suppose if I remove one field, suppose let me remove this role field, and if I click on execute, I'm getting this internal server error, but I don't know what is the actual reason beside this, because the error message is not proper. If I get error message like this field is missing, something like that, it will be more appropriate, right? I have already added one validation expect, right, to validate the input, but that is not enough. I need to add more validation, like I need to add validation for some of the field. I have already give example on this email field, and if some field is missing, then I am not getting the proper error message, so validation is required. So here very quickly I would like to create one folder, validation. Let me write parser.py. Okay, here very quickly from FLASK I'm going to implement validation. Import requires parse. Now I'm going to define the parser for employee fields. So this is my user parser. I can write request parse dot request parser, okay, and here this is for my name field, and this is of type string, right? This field is required, name is required, so after write required equals true, I can write here help message, name is required. I can copy this. This is for my email field. This is for department, designation, contact, role, Control C, Control V, and this is for manager ID. So user contains these fields. Now I can write here email is required, department is required. This is very simple message. Designation is required, contact is required, role is required, manager ID is required. As simple as this. Now I'd like to define the parser for leave request. So this is employee parser. Just like as above, I can write request parse.request parser. Add argument status. Its type is also a string. Require is true. And help text. Leave status is required. Let me copy this. Control V, Control V, Control V. Okay. This is for type. Duration from, duration to, region, right? In this help text, type of leave is required. And right here, start date of leave is required. In date of leave is required. In the same way, reason for leave is required. Okay. Okay, this is my parser. This is for user parser and this is for employee parser. Now in this user routes, I can import that user parser. From validation.parser, I can import user parser. And in my post request here, now instead of this code, I can directly use parser because in my parser I have already defined what fields are required. So I can remove this code. Let me write comment here. Parse and validate request data. Okay. Args equals user parser dot parse args. Through this I will get every fields of user, and then I can write user data equals key value for key comma value in args.items. If value is not none. Okay. Now I don't need to write all the fields here because I have already defined my every fields in this user parser. And with this line I will get my user data. Now I have to create this user data. So I can write a new user equals to my user model and then this user data. As simple as this. Now the code is more refactored. Control yes. Now if I go to my API document and here in my post request, you can see here role is missing. Now if I execute this, see I get the appropriate message, role is required. Initially it was coming internal server error, but now I am getting the proper error message. And also I am getting here input payload validation failed. So I am getting the proper error message with user parser. Similarly, in the put request also, I can remove this code. Just like as above, I can write args equals user parser dot parse argument for data equals key value for key comma value in args.items if value is not none. And here let me rename this to user detail. I can write user detail dot update this updated data in this structure format. Okay, I have implemented my user parser in this put request also. Now if I go to my API document, let me copy this in my put request, try it out, and again the role field is missing here. For user ID 1, if I execute this, I will get the proper error message. In the same way, for employee leave roles, I'm going to import employee leave parser. So from validation.parser, I'm going to import employee leave parser. And in this post request, and again here, parse and validate request data, args equals employee leave parser dot parse args. Leave data equals key value for key comma value in args dot items if value is not none. So this is my leave data. Now I have to create it. So I can write leave info equals employee leave is my model, right? And here I can pass employee ID, and apart from that I will get my data from this leave data. Employee ID is not mentioning in the parser, so I have to write it here, and also I'm going to destructure it. I have to pass double asterisk, and it will save my leave data. Okay, this is it. Now again, if I go to my API document, if I go to employee leave request routes, this is for users, this is for employee. Let me first hit this get request for user 1. Okay, I'm going to copy this in this post request, try it out. Now if region is missing, and if I click on this for user ID 1, if I click on this execute, I have to remove this comma, execute. Okay, region for leave is required, so I'm getting again proper error message. Now I would like to add validation for this email field. In this users there is email. I would like to add validation for this email field. So here in this validation, I'm going to create one file validator.py. I would like to import regular expression, and my function name is validate email. Will take that value. It will check if the value is a validated email or not. So I can write here pattern equals this regular expression will identify if the provided value is correct email or not. So it will validate my email field. You can see here I have to provide some name @ some name again dot something like this. So this is the regular expression to validate my email field. So I can write now if not match, if not re.match, if my value doesn't match to this pattern, I have to raise some value error. I can write invalid email format. I can return value. Okay, this is it. Now in my parser here I'm going to import that validator. From dot validator I'm going to import validate email, and this is my email field. I have to pass here in this type. I have to call my validate email. Okay, this is it. Control yes, and in my API document now, if I try it out, if I send this request, this is not a valid email, right? Now if I let me give role also here. Role is suppose user. Okay, now if I click on execute, see email is required. This is invalid email format. If I provide correct email format, john@something.com, and if I click on execute, now the response is 200. It is success message. So I have to provide now correct email. Also I can provide validation for this contact field. Right now if you see here, this is it is taking number also, and it is taking character also. I can validate something like the length of contact should be 10 and it should only accept a digit. So I can add validation in this contact field also. And for this, again in this validator, def validate contact, I have to provide value, that means my contact number. If not value dot each digit, so it will check inside my string I should have only this number. If I provide some character, then it will definitely fail. And then it will give me value error. So I have to write res value error, contact must contain only digits. And also I have to check the length of contact. If length of value is not equal to 10, again I can raise value error. Contact must be exactly 10 digits. I can return value, and in this parser I can import that validate contact, and in this contact I can pass here validate contact, control yes. And now so this is not a correct contact field because this is not a digit. So if I execute this, so I'm getting this message, contact is required, contact must contain only digits. This is the help text and this is my error message. And now if I provide only digit but the length is not 10, if I click on execute, see contact must be exactly 10 digits. So the validation is error in this contact field also. Now I would like to add validation for my employee leave request. If I go to this employee and there are status and type, I would like to add validation in this field. I would like to add like in status only pending, approved or declined is only allowed. I am not allowed to enter random value. So I am going to create one constant file here, .py, define allowed values. In this leave status, only 3 values are allowed. First one is approved, pending and rejected. And in this leave types, sick is allowed, annual leave is allowed, compensatory leave is allowed, and the last one is leave without pay. Now in this validator, I'm going to import from constants. I'm going to import a leave statuses and leave types. Def validate status, there is value. If value not in leave statuses, I have to raise value error. I can write status must be one of this value. Status must be one of. I can write here leave statuses. Okay. Return value. So this is for status, and again I can write validate leave. If value not in leave types, again I'm going to raise value error. Type must be one of leave types. Okay, this is it. In this parser, I am going to input validate leave type, validate status, and in this leave request, in this type I can write validate leave type, and in this status I can write validate status. Okay, control yes. In this API document, let me provide reason here. If you see here, this is not a valid status, so if I click on execute button, see, status must be one of pending, rejected or approved. And suppose if I provide correct status, pending, and if the type is wrong, if I provide some random value and if I click on execute, I can see type must be one of annual compensatory leave without pay and sick. So I have to provide correct type. If I write here sick and if I click on execute, okay, there is again internal server error. If I look here, ITMS, okay, it should be items. In this employee leave rules, I have to write here items, control yes, type is correct, status is correct, all are allowed values. So if I click on execute, okay, again if I go here, okay, type is coming none, but I have provided here type sick. If I go to my parser, type is validated leave type, that is fine. In my validator, okay, here I have to return this value, control yes, and now if I click on execute, okay, because I have provided allowed status and type, so it is working. I'm able to send the request. Now I would like to add validation for this department and designation. If you see here, in this user request, I would like to add validation for this department and designation. I am not allowed to enter any value here, and based on this department I have to select this designation. That means this designation is dependent to this department. So in this constants file, I'm going to paste some value for department and designation. I'm going to paste allowed values, control V. So these all are the value for department and designation. So if I select department engineering, then these values are allowed in designation. If I select department IT operation, only these designations are allowed. So I will add validation in this department and designation, and only the department that is defined here is only allowed. You will get this constant value from the code I have provided, the link in the video description. And now in this validator pipe, def validate department, it will take value, First of all, I have to import that department and designation. And before this, what more I can do is in this constant.py. So this is the allowed department and designation. I can format this department and designation in different way. Like my engineering will be key, and this is my value. If I format this value, then it will be more easy for me to query or for me to map this value. So if I can write here department designation map. I would like to map like this will be my key and this will be my value. This will be my another key and this will be my another value. So here I'm going to write for item in department and designations. Okay, I'm going to map item department. This is my key, and item designations is my value. Control yes. Now it will be easy for me to validate designation based on department. So in this validator py, instead of this department and designation, I'm going to import department designation map. And here if value not in department designation map, means if this value is not in my key, then I can raise value error. Invalid department. I can return value. And to validate designation, this designation is based on department, so I have to pass department also. Designation, if designation not in department designation map, in this department I can return none. So this is different than above validation, so I can return none, and here I can return designation. So if designation don't match to the value of this specific department, I have to return none, else I have to return designation. Now in this parser, I have to import just department, and in this department, where it is, okay, here I can write validate department. For designation, if the designation is based on department, so I can't directly write here validate designation. I have to handle this in my routes. So in my user routes, I have to import validate designation. From validation.validator, I have to import validate designation. And in this post request, here I can write comment validate designation equals, this function will require both designation and department. I will get from argument, I can pass department, I can pass designation as my parameter. If not designation, if designation doesn't match, I can stop my execution. I have to import abort first. 100 bad request. I can write invalid designation. I can copy this, and in this put request also I can validate the designation. Okay, this is it. Now let me go to my API document, and here if I write here user USR, if you see in this constant file, USR is not a valid department. There is no user in this department key field. So if I click on execute, it will say invalid department. Now this engineering is valid department. Engineering is allowed, but instead of selecting designation from here, if I select designation from here, Control C, and if I paste it here, Control V, execute, it will say okay, it is coming from contact field. Let me put it here, let me make it 10, and now if I click on execute, see invalid designation. So this designation is not allowed for this department. If I select this value, now it should be valid. So if I go to this designation, Control V, and if I click execute, now it is valid. So I have added validation for this email field, for this contact field, for this department, for this designation, leave type, leave status, and I have added validation with the help of parser, and also I have created my own validation. Okay, this is for validation. Now in the next chapter, I will be implementing login and sign up. In this chapter 5, I will be implementing login and sign up. And for this, I will be requiring another library or package. So I can install that package with pip install FLASK JWT extended. Enter. Okay, pip is requirements.txt. Fine, cls. Now in this API, I'm going to create another routes, auth routes.py, and this is for sign in and sign up. Now let me import some packages that is required here. From models.user, I have to import my user model. From Flask, I will be requiring request and JSONify. Also, I will require my custom decorator, import expect, and from Flask RESTX, resource is required, namespace is required. I will create separate namespace for this auth fields, and abort is also required. And for security, I will deal with password, so I have to deal with security. So from webzug for security, I have to import generate password hash and also check password hash. And from the library that I have just installed, FLASK JWT extended, I have to import JWT required, get JWT identity, create access token, and create refresh token. Okay, these all are required. I also require employee model. That means the model where I can define my email and password. So here in this models, I am going to create employee.py, the model for email and password. So from database .exts import db class employee db.model For login or sign up, email and password are required. db.column, this is my string field, and I will get this email from my user. So this will be my foreign key, FRAGN KEY. Okay, I will get from user.email. And also I can put this as primary key. So for this employee model, this is my primary key, email is my primary key, and I will get email from this user.email. And for password, db.column, I can write here text also. Okay, db.text is fine for password, and I can write here nullable equals false. Yes, this email is dependent to this user field. I have to write here, let me first write comment, relationship with user model. User equals db dot, I have to define relationship between user and employee model. I can pass here backref equals db dot backref employee, and I can pass user list equals false. So what is this? It says my employee is related to the one user, and this backref means from the user side I can get employee from user.employee, and from the employer side I can get user from employee.user. So this backref is very important. That means if I want to get some field from the user, I can directly write employee.user. I will access the field from the user also. So this backref is very important. And this user list mean it says one-to-one relationship between user and employee. And here I will be having save method, self db.session.add self db.session.commit. Okay, and in this auth routes I can import from models.employee, I can import employee. I'll create separate namespace for auth, namespace, description is namespace for our authentication. I can define auth API model, auth dot model name is auth, and here I have first field email, this is string, and I have password, this field is either string or text, I can write string. Okay, that is fine. Now I will have to define root for my sign up. Auth ns dot root, and path is sign up. To register I can use this path /sign up, class sign up, resource, first one is post method. I will get request from the payload, request.getJSON, I will get email and password from the user. So I can get data.get email, and now I have to check if this email exists or not. So I can find user from my database, user.query.filter by email equals email. I want to get the first record. If not found, if not db user, I'm going to abort. 404 not found. I can write user is not registered. I can also write contact admin for register. Okay, I can write any message here. If found, if user is there, I have to register the user, I have to sign up. So I can write employee detail. I can directly get employee detail from dbuser.employee. As simple as this, because in my model, in my employee model, I have added backref. If employee detail, if they are employee, that means the user is already registered. So I can here I can abort. I can write 400, and in this message I can write user has already signed up, please log in. If not employee detail, I can create password for that user. So employee model that I have just created, email equals email, password equals data.get password, but I have to save my password in hash. So I can call my generate password hash function. I've already imported, you can clearly see here, generate password hash I have imported from the security. And now I can write new user.save. I have created this save method already. I can return new user. Okay, as simple as this. This is for sign up. Now next one is for login. I can write auth ns dot root slash login. For post method, again I will get data from the user, so that means from the payload. So I can write request.get JSON. I will get email, so data.get email, and I will get password, data.get password. When user try to log in, they will provide this email and password. Now employee equals, I have to query this employee. If the employee exists or not, I can write employee.query.filter by email equals email. I will get the first record. This will return the employee in obj format object, and to get the actual data I can use Marshall. I can pass employee obj auth API model. I have already defined model here, auth API model. Now if there is employee, if employee object, and if the password is matched, I can use the password hash. I have already imported here the password hash. So this is the password from my database, employee detail password. This is the hashed password, and I have to also take this password with my the password that is provided by user password. So this is the hash password, and this is the actual password from the payload. If this match, user will be successfully logging, and user will get this SS token and refresh token. So I can write SS token equals create SS token. I have already imported this also, and I can pass here identity equals email. Also for refresh token, create refresh token. Again, identity equals email. This SS token and this refresh token will be required for authentication. I will come to this later. Now I can return in JSONify. I can return this token and I can return refresh token. If there is employee and if the password matches, else if not matched, I can return one message: email or password incorrect. I can also return the status code 401, and this is it. And in this auth routes, I can also create another request, and this is for to get the new SS token. This is my initial SS token. To get the new SS token, I will be having another routes. Here the red auth ns dot root refresh my token, class refresh token, this will be a push request. I can get the current user, and with this get JWT identify, I have already imported from here. I will get the current user, and with this I can create new SS token. Create SS token again, identity equals current user. I will return in JSONify again SS token. This will be my new SS token. And status code is 200, success. Okay, let me explain this code now. The first one is for sign up request. If the user is not registered, it will sign up the user. That means it will register the user and it will store email and password. And to log in, if the user is validated, means if the user is already registered, then it will check if the password matched or not, and if it matches, then it will create SS token and refresh token. This SS token and refresh token will be required for authentication, and the token will be expired in some time, and the default expiration time is for this SS token it is 15 minutes, but for this refresh token I believe it is 30 days. So with this refresh token, the use of refresh token is to get the new SS token, and this SS token is required to send the request. Suppose to create the user to send the leave request, I will be requiring this SS token. That means it will authenticate the user. And if it is expired, then I will be using this refresh token to create a new SS token. And to create a new SS token, I have already defined here routes. So this will create a new SS token. That means if the SS token is expired, I will be using this route and it will create new SS token. And as I have defined here JWT extended in my main.py file, I have to, this is compulsory, I have to import from FLASK JWT extended. I have to import JWT manager. I have to initialize this in my main file. So here I can call that JWT manager. I can pass it, and I have created separate namespace for this auth. So in this main.py file, here from api.authroutes I can import authns and api.add namespace authns. Okay, control yes. Now in this API document I can refresh this. Okay, auth is there, but I have created separate model for employee, so I have to run my database first. I have to create my database first. If I open my DB browser, SQLite, and if I refresh this, see there is no any employee table. So I have to create my database first. For this I can write python -name database.db init. Enter. Database created. And now if I refresh this, okay, now there is employee table. There are email and password. Now in this API document, first of all I would like to go to this post request to register a user, try it out. There is no any payload example. So in my auth routes here in this post request, I can write expect my custom decorator. I can pass auth API model, and I don't need to remove any field from this model, so this is fine for now. And also I can format the output auth dot marshal with auth API model. Also in this login request I can write expect ns is auth API model. Okay, and in this post request, as I have already mentioned, to create SS token I will require this refresh token. So here I can pass JWT required, means token is required, and which token is required? Refresh token is required. So I have to pass refresh equals true. Okay, now if I go to my API document, and here if I refresh this API, in this auth namespace, in this login, or let me go to sign up first, and now I can see the example value, try it out. Okay, now I'm going to register a user. Suppose if I provide email that is not there, store@gmail.com, and password is suppose test, and if I click on execute, see user is not registered, contact admin for register. If I go to my users, and if I go to this get request, try it out, execute, so only these users are allowed. I can copy one users, john@gmail.com, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and password is test. This is fine, execute. Okay, now this is the email, and I will get the hashed password. The employee is registered. Now employee can log into the site. So if I go to this request, post request, and here try it out, john@gmail.com, password is test. If I provide test to incorrect password, and if I click on execute, email or password incorrect, so it will give me this message. Now if I provide correct password, test, and if I click on execute, I will get the SS token and refresh token. There is typo, I have to write here SS token, Ctrl S. So with this SS token and refresh token, I can send the request. I will implement that in the next chapter, but this SS token will be required to add authentication, and this refresh token will be required to create another SS token. If it is expired, I have to use this refresh token to get a new SS token, and we have data routes also. So if I go to this API, I can click on try it out, execute. I will get missing authorization header. I have provided here JW required refresh equals true. If I comment this, and now if I click on execute, okay, it will give me this error message, and it will say you must call JWT required or verify JWT in request. Okay, that means this line is compulsory, but right now I have not implemented authentication part, so I am not able to send this request. I will cover this in the next chapter. I am allowed to register a user, and I am allowed to log into the site, and I am getting this SS token and refresh token. So I have created employee tables, and in my employee table I will store email and password. This sign up routes will register a user, and this login routes will verify the user with email and password, and after verification it will give me SS token and refresh token. This is all for chapter 5. Now in the next chapter, I will discuss about SQL Alchemy migration with FLASK Migrate. In this chapter 6, I will discuss about FLASK Migrate. I would like to go to my API document. I would like to get all the users first, try it out, execute. I would like to copy one user data, Ctrl C, and I'm going to create a new user. Try it out, Ctrl V. This will contain all digits and john@gmail.com. But if I see my get request, if you see here, john@gmail.com is already there. Now if I execute this, I have to remove this comma. If I execute this again, see, the user is created. So right now the email is not a unique field. So if I go to my user model, right now email is not a unique field. I would like to make this field unique. Unique equals to, I have three models, user, employee and employee leave. I would also like to add table name here. This is not mandatory, but I would like to add it here. Table name. This is user. This is employee. This is employee leave. Okay, I have made this email field unique. Now how can I change this to my database? Previously I was running this command, right? Python-m database.db init. If I see here, database db init, it uses this command db.createAll. Now is it enough? If you see here in this user model, I have made this email field unique. Now if I run this command, then it will not be enough. Because with this command, I can create a new table, but it will not detect any changes in my previous model. That means the model that I have already created, it will not detect their changes. So here, FLASK Migrate will be helpful. If you see here, why you have to use FLASK Migrate? Because db.createAll is limited. It only creates table, but it won't detect changes in models. It won't alter tables if you change columns. Here you can see db.createAll creates tables. FLASK Migrate can also create tables. But db.createAll doesn't detect model changes. FLASK Migrate do. db.createAll doesn't auto-generate migration files. FLASK Migrate do. If I want to apply changes to database, again db.createAll doesn't work. FLASK Migrate will help. So if I make any changes to my model, then I have to use FLASK Migrate. If I have to create new table, then db.createAll will be fine. But if I make any changes to my model, FLASK Migrate is necessary. First of all, you have to install FLASK Migrate. I can write pip install FLASK Migrate. I want to make changes to my model. I have added unique equals to true, so I have to install FLASK Migrate, and I want to make these changes to my database also, to my user model or user table. So first of all, I have to install FLASK Migrate. I can save my requirements in this file, requirements.txt, cls, in this main.py file. From FLASK Migrate, I can import migrate, and then I can initialize this migrate. I have to pass app, also database in my directory. this will create migration folder. So I have to provide path of that folder. So directory, I want to store that migration folder in this database itself. So I have already created database, and here I will be having this migrations file. Control yes. Now you have to remember some command. The command is very easy. You can clearly see here, this is the FLASK migrate commands. So first step is you have to set your FLASK app. So if you are in PowerShell in Windows, you have to run this command. And if you are in command prompt in Windows, again you have to run this command. And if you are in Linux or Mac, you have to run this command. And this command is useful to set FLASK app. And only then we can run this following command. I am going to run this command. Right now I am in PowerShell in Windows, so I have to set my FLASK app with this command, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, OK, and then I have to run this command, FLASK db init, to create migrations folder. Ctrl C, Ctrl V, it will create migration folder. If it's here in this database, now I can see this migration folder. And next step is to create migration script. So Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and I can write here some message, make user email field unique, enter. Okay, now I have to run this command, FLASK db upgrade, Ctrl V, enter. Okay, so it is giving me this issue, constraint must have a name. So if I see here constraint must have a name, I have to go to my migration folder now. Here migration folder, versions, and this is my latest version, right? Make user email field unique. I have to go here, and I believe the issue is coming because here the name is none. I have to write some unique name here, unique user email, Control yes, and now I'm going to run the same command again. Let's see if it will fix this issue or not. Okay, now it works. There is no any issue, that means it works. Make sure you don't have any duplicate email in your user table. And the most important thing is you have to remember this command. First of all, you have to set your FLASK app, and this is the very easy step. You have to initialize your app and you have to run this command for the first time. If I want to make any changes to my model again, I don't need to run this command. So this is for the one time only, and this is the message what I have made changes to my database, and this is the command to apply changes to the database. If I want to roll back, this command will be helpful, FLASK db downgrade. Now if I go to my API document, and now this zone@gmail.com is already in my table. So if I click on this execute, it accepts. Let me refresh this site. Users, get all users, try it out, execute. Let me copy this, Ctrl C, create a new user, try it out, Ctrl V, and now zone@gmail.com is already in my table. So if I click on this execute, I have to first make this contact only accept digits. If I click on execute, okay, it is throwing me this error because this email field is unique. So I have implemented FLASK migration and I have made this email field unique. And to get appropriate message, I can go to my user routes. Here I can write user equals, I'm going to fetch the user first, user.query.filter by email equals ask email. I'm going to get first record. If it's found, then I'm going to abort from here. 409, that means conflict. I can write email should be unique. Control yes. And now again if I click on this execute button, see, it throws me this message, email should be unique. So in my model, if I go to my user model, I have made these changes. I have made this email field unique, and I have also added this table name, because in my migration folder, if I see here, I can see my table name, so it will be easy for me to identify any issue if it occurs. So table name will be useful. And as I have made changes to this model, I have to use FLASK migrate. db.createAll will create only new table, but it will not detect any changes in the model. And in that case, I have to use FLASK migrate. This is all for chapter 6. Now in the chapter 7, I will discuss about JWT authentication and protect routes based on rules. In this chapter 7, I will discuss about JWT authentication, and also based on rules, I will implement protecting routes. So for authentication, if I go to my API model, there is no any place to add my SS key. There is no any place. I would like to add one button here from where I can add my SS key. And based on that SS key, I have to send the request. So in my main.py file, in this API, here I'm going to add authorizations equals bearer auth. Type is API key. In header, name is authorization. I can pass description. Enter your bearer token in the format bearer. In this format, you will see in the UI itself, so don't worry. And I can pass security equals bearer auth. Let me format this code. Okay, I have added here authorization bearer auth. Type is API key. In header, name authorization and some description, and security is bearer auth. Now if I go to my API document, if I refresh this, see, now I can see this button authorize, from where I can enter my SS key with bearer and SS key. So if you see here, enter your bearer token in the format, this is the format. Close. In this auth, in this API, I have already defined JWT required. If you see here in my auth routes, I have added this line JWT required. That means token is required to send this request. So first of all, let me go to this login request, try it out. john@gmail.com, password is test. If I click on execute, it will give me this SS token and refresh token. And now if I go to this refresh, click on try it out, execute, it will give me this message missing authorization header, because it will take the refresh token, right? I have refresh token here. I can copy this, Control C, and I have to go to here, and I have to write bearer space paste and authorize. I can close this. Now if I click on execute button again, okay, I'm getting this message, object of type response is not JSON serializable. Okay, here what if I remove this status code? Control yes, execute. Okay, now I'm able to get this new SS token. So I have added token here in this section, and now I am able to send this request. I am able to get new SS token. In the same way, if I go to my user routes, I can import JWT required from FLASK JWT extended. I can import JWT required. In this port request, if I write here JWT required, if I didn't pass anything, that means it requires SS token. If I go to my API document again, if I refresh this, and if I go to this users, let me get all the request, execute. Let me copy this, Control C. Now in the post request, try it out, Control V, john2@gmail.com. If I click on execute, I have to remove this comma. If I click on this execute again, it says missing authorization header because I have added JWT required, and now it requires SS token. And to get SS token, I have to first log in. I have to go to this auth, login, try it out, john@gmail.com, password is test, execute. Now SS token will be required. If I go to this authorize button, I have to write bearer, Control V, authorize, close. Now if I send this request again, execute, see, I am able to send the request now. That means I have added authorization. I can also authorize this based on roles. That means suppose only admin is allowed to send this request, and suppose for the employee leave only manager is allowed to update the request. So based on rules, I can also protect the rules. Now I am going to make my own custom decorator. Here in this utils, in this custom decorator, I am going to make another custom decorator. Def role, load roles, def decorator, again f function, def decorated function, it takes argument and keyword argument. Now let me define user role here. Suppose if the user is admin and if user role not in allowed roles, I am going to pass allowed roles here. In this allowed roles, if admin is not there, that means this block will not be executed. I can pass response equals JSONify. I can import JSONify from FLASK. From FLASK, import JSONify. Also, I will be requiring wraps Fong tools. Import wraps and FLASK JWT extended. I will require JWT required and also get JWT. Okay, here response is I'm going to send one message. It says forbidden. Insufficient permissions. Response dot status code equals 403. I can return response, and then I can return function args and quarks, and again return decorated function and again return decorator. Okay, I have provided a static role here. I will get role from the token. I will implement that later, but this decorator will check if the user is allowed or not to send the request. If it is not allowed, it will throw this message, access forbidden, insufficient permission. Otherwise, it will return, it will do nothing. You will get understand once I use this decorator. And when I use this role, I would like to have my SS token. So for that, here I can write JWT required. It requires SS token. Also here I can write wraps. I can pass F. In fact, I have to write this here after this decorator. Control V. Okay. Now in the constants file, I am going to define roles. Role equals admin. Next one is employee, and next one is manager. Suppose right now these all are the role. Now let me go to my user routes. Here I have already added JWT required in this post request. I am going to import that decorator here. So from utils.custom decorator, I am going to import role also. Here I don't need this JWT required because in the role decorator there is already JWT required, so I don't need to write here. I can remove this, but I can use this role now. Role, and now I can pass. I have to import first role from the constants. This is not used. I can remove this. From constants I can import role, and now here I can pass. If I want only admin to send this request, I can write in this way. That means now only admin is allowed to send this request. So I have already defined this role decorator. Now I am going to implement this user role. I will get this user role from the token. So in my auth routes, here while creating SS token, I am going to add the roles here. First of all, I am going to import from .user routes. I am going to import user namespace and user API model, and also from FLASK JWT extended I am going to import get JWT. Okay, now in this create SS token I am going to add roles here. So comma, I can write additional claims equals role. I can get a role from the user model. So here I can write user obj equals, I can get user from employee obj.user because I have implemented backref, and now I can write user detail equals, I can use Marshall user ns.marshall user obj user API model, and after this I will get the user details, and from user details I can get the role. So here in this role I can write user detail role. Okay, I can copy this, and in this refresh token also I can paste it here. Control yes. Now through this SS token I will also get these claims, means I will get this role, and based on roles I can check if the user is allowed or not. Also I am going to change here current user equals get JWT identity is fine. I can write claims equals get JWT, and I will get these claims. I have added this additional claims, so I will get these claims, that means role. So I have to write get generality, and here in this SS token, control V, identity is current user, and get roles I can write here claims dot get role. Okay, now in my custom decorator, here I can write claims equals again get generality. I have already imported, from where I can get the user role equals claims role. Okay, I have added these claims in this SS token and refresh token. So when user login, here she gets the SS token, and in this SS token there is identity, that is email, and there is claims, that is role. And in this decorator, what I have done is I will get these roles from the token, and I will check if the roles is allowed or not. If the user role is not allowed, it will give this message SS forbidden. Now in this user routes, I have added decorator here in the post request while creating a new user. In this put request, I can write, I can protect root based on roles. Suppose this is also for admin only, and also to delete a user. Only admin can delete a user. And in the employee leave routes, here I am going to import the role from constants, import role. From custom decorator, I am going to import this decorator. Now in this post request, I can write role because only employee is allowed to apply a leave. You can change this based on your requirement. And suppose in this put request, only manager is allowed to update a leave request. So I can write role manager. Now let me go to this API document. Let me refresh this. If I go to here, get all users, try it out, execute. Now there is no any admin here. If you see right now, there is no any admin. While the user having role employee is there, that means I am able to apply a leave. I would like to first update one user to admin. Let me copy this, Control C, and here in this put request, try it out. ID is 1. I am going to update this role to admin. Right now I am not able to do this because employer can't send this request. So what am I going to do is to send that request only. I am going to in this user routes, I am going to comment this, Control yes, and let me click on this execute button because at least one admin is required. So user updated successfully. Now this zone is the admin. So now if I go to this get request again, execute. Now John is the admin. Another user John 2 is not able to send a request. Let me uncomment this again, Control yes. I'm going to register this user john2@gmail.com, Control C, and this auth I'm going to sign up first. That means I'm going to register this user, Control B, and password is suppose test2. Execute. Okay, email and password created. Now I'm going to login. Try it out. John2@gmail.com and password is test2. execute. This is the SS token, and through this SS token, identity is email, and I can also get the claims, and the claims is role. I'm going to copy this, and in this authorize button I'm going to put my token bearer, control V, authorize. As zone 2 is employee, he is not authorized to send a request, like creating a user. If I close this and if I go to put request again, now I'm going to make this manager, and if I click on execute, it will say it is forbidden insufficient permission, because zone 2 is not an admin, only zone is admin, right? So zone 2 is not able to send this request. Even if he try to send this delete request, suppose zone 2 is trying to delete a user ID 2, and if I click on execute again, he is not allowed to send this request, only zone is allowed. So now if I go to this login, suppose if zone login now, if this user login zone@gmail.com test, execute, now he is an admin, right? So his SS token will be required to send that request. I'm going to copy this, authorize, logout, bearer, control V, authorize. Okay, I can close this. Now John is an admin, so he can do anything. That means he can also send the delete request. I'm going to delete this user ID equals 4, so I can go to this delete request ID 4, execute, user deleted successfully, because John is admin, and only manager is allowed to update the leave request. So based on rules, the roots is protected. You can try hitting different roots by yourself. So this is it. Based on JWT identity and based on rules, we can protect the roots. I hope this video is very helpful to you. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe my channel IG Tech Team. I will meet you in the next one. Keep learning.